The rain hammered against the windows of our small apartment in Manchester, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Alistair, a 43-year-old IT specialist, had always considered myself a logical man, a man of systems and solutions. But logic seemed to have abandoned me the day I found the second phone. It wasn't the first sign, of course. There had been subtle shifts in Elowen's behavior over the past few months. Elowen, my wife of 15 years. Less affection, shorter temper, and an almost constant preoccupation with her phone. She'd always been active on social media, being a freelance graphic designer, but this was different. It was secretive, almost furtive. She'd jump when I entered the room, quickly minimizing whatever was on the screen. Excuses about client confidentiality became commonplace. I tried to dismiss it. We'd been together a long time. Life had its ups and downs. Maybe she was just stressed with work. Maybe I was being paranoid, but the knot in my stomach wouldn't loosen. Then came the night I stumbled upon it. Elowen was in the shower and her phone, which she usually kept glued to her hand, was lying face down on the coffee table. A notification popped up, a message from an unknown number. Curiosity, or perhaps a deeper, more primal fear, compelled me to pick it up. The message was simple, innocuous even. Thinking of you. But something about the way it was phrased, the timing, set off alarm bells. I told myself to put it down to respect her privacy, but I couldn't. I unlocked the phone, something I'd never done before, and scrolled through her messages. Nothing. The message had vanished. I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. I was invading her privacy. I was being the suspicious, controlling husband I always swore I'd never be. I placed the phone back down, feeling foolish and ashamed. But the feeling lingered. The doubt had been planted and it was beginning to take root. I started paying closer attention. I noticed the late-night work calls she took in the hallway, her voice hushed and secretive. I saw the way she flinched when I touched her, as if I were a stranger. I heard the lies, small at first, then bolder, more frequent. One evening, while Elowen was out meeting a client, I decided to do something I knew I'd regret. I started searching. I checked her email, her social media accounts, anything I could think of. I found nothing. She was being careful, too careful. Then, tucked away in a drawer in her desk, hidden beneath a pile of old sketchbooks, I found it. A second phone. A cheap burner-type phone, the kind you buy on pay-as-you-go. My hands trembled as I turned it on. It was password protected, but after a few failed attempts, I managed to guess it. Her birthday. The phone was almost empty. A few contacts, all with generic names like Sarah or Mark. But the message history, that was a different story. It was filled with messages to and from one number, a number saved as Tom. Messages filled with declarations of love, longing, and explicit details of their encounters. Messages that painted a picture of a woman I no longer recognized. A woman who was betraying me in the most intimate way possible. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. The room started to spin. I felt a cold, hollow ache in my chest, a pain so profound it felt physical. My wife, the woman I loved, the woman I had built a life with, was having an affair. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the screen, rereading the messages, trying to make sense of it all. How could she do this? Why? What had I done wrong? The logical part of my brain tried to analyze the situation, to find a rational explanation. But the emotional part, the part that was raw and bleeding, screamed in protest. When Elowen finally came home, I was sitting in the living room, the phone lying on the coffee table in front of me. She walked in, her face flushed, her eyes bright. "Alistair, what are you doing?" she asked, her voice a little too high-pitched. I didn't say anything, I just gestured to the phone. Her face paled, she knew. "Alistair, she stammered, but I cut her off. "Who is Tom?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She started to cry. "It's not what you think," she said, the classic line of every cheating spouse. "Then what is it, Elowen?" I demanded, my voice rising. Tell me who Tom is and why you've been lying to me for months." She collapsed onto the sofa, sobbing uncontrollably. "It just happened," she said, her voice muffled by her hands. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "Who is he?" I repeated, my voice hard. He's a colleague," she said, her voice barely audible. "We've been working on a project together." "A colleague?" I scoffed. "Is that what you call sending each other messages about how much you love each other? Is that what you call sneaking around behind my back?" She didn't answer. She just continued to cry. "How long?" I asked, my voice trembling. How long has this been going on? She hesitated for a moment, then said, a few months. A few months. Months of lies, months of deceit, months of betrayal. I stood up, feeling numb. I need you to leave, I said, my voice flat. What? She asked, her eyes wide with shock. I want you to leave, I repeated. I can't even look at you right now. She pleaded with me, begged me to forgive her, promised it would never happen again, but I was done. The trust was broken, shattered into a million pieces. I couldn't forgive her. Not now, maybe not ever. She left that night, taking a suitcase full of her clothes and a lifetime of memories. I watched her go, feeling nothing but a cold, empty void. The next few weeks were a blur. I barely ate, barely slept. I went through the motions at work, but my mind was elsewhere, replaying the events of the past few months, trying to understand what had gone wrong. I spoke to a few friends, confided in them about what had happened. They were supportive, offering words of comfort and advice, but nothing seemed to help. The pain was too deep, the wound too raw. I considered confronting Tom, the man who had stolen my wife. I imagined all sorts of scenarios, from screaming at him to physically assaulting him. But in the end, I decided against it. What would it accomplish? It wouldn't change what had happened. It wouldn't bring Elowen back. Instead, I focused on myself. I started exercising again, going for long runs in the park. I started cooking healthy meals, taking care of my body. I started seeing a therapist, talking through my feelings, trying to make sense of the trauma. It was a slow process, a painful process. But slowly, gradually, I started to heal. The pain didn't disappear entirely, but it became more manageable. The anger subsided, replaced by a quiet sadness. One day, a few months after Elowen left, I received a phone call. It was from her. Alistair, I need to talk to you, she said, her voice hesitant. What do you want, Elowen? I asked, my voice cold. I made a mistake, she said. I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I want to come home. I paused for a moment, considering her words. A part of me, a small, foolish part, wanted to believe her, wanted to forgive her, wanted to go back to the way things were. But another part, the part that had been betrayed and broken, knew that it was impossible. The trust was gone, the love was tainted. We could never go back. I don't think that's possible, Elowen, I said, my voice firm. I'm sorry, but it's over. She started to cry again, pleading with me, begging me to reconsider. But I held firm. I had made my decision. Goodbye, Elowen, I said, and hung up the phone. I sat there for a long time, staring at the wall, feeling a mix of sadness and relief. It was over, finally over. Life went on. I continued to work, to exercise, to see my therapist. I started dating again, cautiously at first, then with more confidence. I met some interesting women, some kind women, but none of them could replace Elowen. I realized that I would always carry a scar, a reminder of the pain and betrayal I had experienced. But I also realized that I was stronger than I thought. I had survived. I had healed. I had moved on. Then, about a year after the divorce, I received an unexpected message from a mutual friend. It was a picture of Elowen and Tom. They were at a wedding, looking happy and carefree, but something was off. Tom looked different, thinner, paler, almost sickly. I asked our friend what was going on. She told me that Tom had been diagnosed with a serious illness, a rare form of cancer. He was undergoing treatment, but the prognosis wasn't good. And Elowen, she was taking care of him, nursing him through his illness. She had quit her job to be by his side. I felt a strange mix of emotions, pity, sadness, and a flicker of something else. Not satisfaction, not exactly, but something close to it. Karma, perhaps. Elowen had chosen her path, and now she was facing the consequences. She had traded a stable, loving marriage for a fleeting affair, and now she was stuck caring for a dying man. I didn't feel any joy in her suffering, but I didn't feel any sympathy either. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. I continued to live my life, focusing on my own happiness and well-being. I learned to trust again, to love again. I learned that even after the most profound betrayal, it is possible to heal, to move on, to find happiness again. Years later, I heard through the grapevine that Tom had passed away. Elowen was alone again, grieving the loss of her lover. I didn't reach out to her. I didn't offer my condolences. I simply let her go. Our paths had diverged long ago, and there was no going back. I had my own life to live, my own future to create. And I was determined to make it a happy one, a life free from the pain and betrayal of the past. But the story doesn't end there. A few weeks ago, I received a letter. It was postmarked from a small town in Wales, a place I'd never been. The return address was unfamiliar. Curiosity piqued, I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, handwritten in a familiar, elegant script. It was from Elowen, Alistair, it began. I know it's been a long time. I don't expect you to forgive me or even to understand. But I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago. My heart pounded in my chest as I continued to read. Tom wasn't just a colleague, she wrote. He was your brother, Bryn. The words hit me like a physical blow. My brother, my own brother, had been having an affair with my wife. The betrayal was so profound, so shocking, that I felt like I was going to be sick. Bryn had always been different. Restless, ambitious, always seeking something more. He had envied my stability, my happiness, my seemingly perfect life. Had he seen my marriage as a challenge, a prize to be won? I know this is a lot to take in, Elowen continued. I'm not trying to excuse my behavior. I was wrong, terribly wrong. But Bryn, he was manipulative. He preyed on my vulnerabilities. He convinced me that you didn't appreciate me, that I deserved better. I scoffed. Bryn had always been good at manipulating people, at twisting the truth to suit his own agenda. Had he deliberately set out to destroy my life? I know this changes everything, Elowen wrote. But I needed you to know the truth. I needed you to know who was really responsible for what happened. The letter ended abruptly, with no apology, no explanation. Just the cold, hard truth. I sat there for hours, rereading the letter, trying to process the information. My wife had cheated on me with my own brother. The man I had trusted, the man I had shared my life with, had betrayed me in the most unimaginable way possible. I felt a surge of anger, a rage so intense it threatened to consume me. I wanted to lash out, to destroy something, to make someone pay. But then, as the anger subsided, a strange sense of calm washed over me. It was as if a fog had lifted, revealing the truth in all its ugly clarity. Elowen was not the sole villain in this story. Bryn was just as culpable, if not more so. He had deliberately set out to destroy my life, to steal my happiness, and now he was dead. He had taken his secrets to the grave, leaving me to grapple with the consequences of his actions. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I will ever be able to forgive Elowen or to make peace with what happened. But I do know one thing. I will not let Bryn's betrayal define me. I will not let his actions poison my life. I will continue to heal, to grow, to move forward. I will find happiness again, even in the face of this unimaginable pain. And maybe, someday, I will even be able to forgive. But for now, I will simply remember the lessons I have learned, the strength I have found within myself, and the unwavering determination to live a life filled with love, trust, and authenticity.